Okay, today's guest is Stephen Hummel. He is with the McDonald Observatory, and I think y'all will be really interested in what he has to say. He's a science communicator, and he works a lot with the region, with just the general public and some more specific audiences that he targets to help reach his goals, and I'll let him introduce that a little bit. Stephen, can you tell us about your role with McDonald Observatory?
Yeah, thanks, Shauna. Yes, I am the Dark Skies Initiative Coordinator, or DSI Coordinator for short. My job primarily is to protect the night sky for the benefit of astronomical research at University of Texas at Austin McDonald Observatory. But that is really just a small slice of it in practice, because really my goal is to protect the night sky for the benefit of everybody, not just the observatory and astronomical research, but for the benefit of human health, for wildlife, for the local economy, and more. So it's a big task. I do a lot of talking to people, and I talk to a lot of different kinds of people. Every day it's something different.
Right. So first of all, that sounds like a really noble endeavor. And you also have a lot of ways to connect with people. Specifically, some of Stephen's audiences are industry. So industry that is producing a lot of light pollution that interferes with the astronomical observations at McDonald Observatory. He's working with those people to help them update their lighting to more night sky friendly practices. So that's one specific audience, and I'm sure since we're talking about it, how do you engage with an audience like that?
Yeah. So from McDonald Observatory, the largest source of light pollution in our sky is the oil and gas industry primarily, or more accurately these days, I just say energy sector. Because it's more than just oil and gas. It's the support facilities, it's gravel yards, it's battery facilities, even for renewable energy that are being built at a rapid pace, particularly in Reeves and Pecos counties. And so, because they're the largest single area of light pollution, that's where a lot of my work is focused. My goal is to protect the night sky. It's about a dark sky, not a dark ground, as I like to say.
That's a good slogan.
Yes, it comes in handy. My end goal is to implement good lighting practices. That means shielding light so that light isn't going up into the sky and being wasted, using only the intensity of outdoor lighting that's necessary for the safety and security, and using a more amber color of lighting as opposed to a blue-white, which scatters more in the atmosphere and interferes with astronomy. And of course, turning lights off if they're not needed. So, those are the on-the-ground practices I'm trying to get people to implement. Oftentimes the first concern, especially let's say an oil and gas company has, if I approach them about lighting, is safety, and that's a very reasonable concern to have. These facilities are dealing with not only heavy machinery, but even sometimes, explosives. There are security concerns of pipelines and even potential terrorist attacks. So there's a lot that they're thinking about when I approach them about changing their lighting practices. So the first people I talk to typically are the health and safety coordinators, the people who are responsible for safety. And the pitch I usually make is, light going up into the sky or into your eyes isn't keeping you safer. It's not illuminating the ground. It's not illuminating the machinery. That's what you're really trying to see.
It can cause kind of a glare, a blindness when it's going into your eyes.
Exactly.
That's what you're trying to get across. So that's where you start.
That's where I start, and oftentimes I will actually do a demonstration where I'll take a little light bulb or a flashlight and I'll unshield it, and then I'll put a cap over it and show, the difference that shielding makes from just a visibility perspective. So that's usually my first tactic, and the hardest part really is just getting to that point, to get that first conversation going.
Yeah.
And that's really where the hard work is.
Right.
From then on out, it's more a matter of logistics and figuring out how to actually implement it.
It seems to me, though, that your technique for engaging with people and just for our students' perspective, I've gone to quite a few of Stephen's talks in the general community, so maybe at like library events or at McDonald Observatory or at local club and organizational meetings. And I may not be able to describe this how I'm thinking, but it seems like your technique is to just lay out the facts as from a science angle, lay out that side of things in a real non-confrontational, non-emotional way, and like you're trying to make connections and hear where people's concerns are and where they are in the in their understanding of night skies and lighting and that sort of thing. And one of the things that really comes across is that you're kind and you listen well and you're really patient with people. And I think that really helps because McDonald Observatory has made a lot of progress on this issue. Could you talk about some of your techniques in communicating with the community around here and some of the things that you do? You're very active.
Yes. Yeah, so as you say, I communicate with a lot of different people, a lot of different kinds of audiences, and I always try to figure out who my audience is, and especially if I'm approaching someone about their lights in particular, which is always, a situation fraught for confrontation.
Right.
I always try to listen to their perspective first. What are they concerned about? Let them, express their concerns. What are their, why? Try to figure out what about their position is going to be, potentially a problem, or what they're considering, what misunderstandings they have.
Like they may like bright lights because it makes them feel safer, or they feel like they can see better, or you just hear from them, their perspective, and then somehow, I don't know how you do the next part.
Well,
without hurting people's feelings.
Yeah. So, typically, my audiences are industries, local governments, businesses, such stuff like that. I typically, I always try to provide a solution. So instead of saying your light is bad, please change it. Oh, by the way, it's required by law. No,
right,
I don't go to that tactic. Some people do, but I try not to. My tactic is, thanks for your concerns about lighting. Here is a solution, and oftentimes that means literally providing them an alternative light, literally handing them the light fixture that would fix the problem.
Yeah.
And just saying, try it out.
Right.
And if you don't like it, then put it back.
I think also the visuals really help, the visual elements. You've created models that show people just, large models that have different lights on them and different ways to shield them, and examples of different intensities of light and different colors of light, and just the visual element is really powerful, which that could translate to somehow something we could use in social media. Social media is very visual, so there's an opportunity for us to take advantage of that, because that seems like it works well for you to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very visual topic. If I ever can, the most effective things I ever do are do a literal demo with real lights, or show pictures, or even just take them outside and have them look at the sky, or have them look at lights on their own facility and point and let them see it for themselves, experience it for themselves.
Right.
That's a very successful tactic. So I'll sometimes do that with oil and gas representatives. Is actually take them out to their facilities at night, and a lot of these people have never actually been on their own facilities during nighttime hours.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
bold move. That's pretty good. Yeah, and I think you've said before that you've invited people out to McDonald Observatory to see what it's like in a place that has pristine night skies, where you can see all these amazing things in the night sky. And so, for the sciences, whatever whatever part of the sciences that we're in, if we can get someone to experience what we feel about something, that helps make the connection.
Yeah. I think the most powerful and effective emotion is awe. Getting people into that state of awe and starts to challenge their assumptions about how the world, how the universe works. And I think gets them more able, more willing to hear new ideas or rethink what they thought they knew.
Yeah.
I think, getting people under a dark sky with a telescope, seeing Saturn, seeing, a galaxy, 30 million light years away. Those moments are really impactful, and people remember them.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, when they go home, they'll remember that experience, and that will motivate them to make a change for the better.
Yeah. Well, that's really good stuff. So I don't think you're not really, do you manage any of the social media for McDonald Observatory? Or can you?
I used to.
You used to.
Yeah.
Can you speak about what role that plays for the McDonald Observatory?
Yeah, social media has been obviously a very powerful tool. And in the field of dark skies, I think one of the most effective social media campaigns has been the Lights Out initiative by the Audubon.
The
birds,
yeah.
Yes, Audubon Society and Texan by Nature. And they distilled the concepts down into a very simple action item that can fit into one, square, basically, on Instagram. And it's gotten a lot of reach. And, their message is simple, turn lights off for the benefit of migrating birds between the hours of 11 and 6 at night. And there are pros to that. They've gotten a lot of traction. They've got a lot of people to follow them. And there are cons as well, because you can over distill a concept. And I think that's the hardest part about science communication. So, the role, like for McDonald Observatory, social media is very important. We, as an observatory, we try to be very open and easy to access. Yesterday was at another observatory in New Mexico, beautiful facility, but I had to get special access just to visit it. And they don't allow visitors. Most observatories do not allow people to come up.
Interesting.
So as part of McDonald Observatory's mission to be open and accessible and have a public outreach arm.
That's really significant.
It is, yeah. And that was actually written into the will of William Johnson McDonald, who, when he passed away in 1926, left the money that founded the observatory. He explicitly said it should be for the benefit and promotion of the astronomical science. So that's a big mission that we do.
Interesting. Okay, well, I guess that maybe wraps it up. Is there any closing thoughts about science communication that you'd like to leave us with, or?
Yeah, I think one of the most challenging and underappreciated aspects about science communication, especially in a field like astronomy or even dark skies, is that science changes. Right? That's the benefit. That's one of the major advantages of strengths of science as a concept, is that you learn more information and you change what you thought about a topic. But from a communication standpoint, that could actually backfire, right? Because if you are constantly updating what you think about a topic, then people think you don't know what you're talking about. And that's something that I think a lot of scientists come across at some point in their careers, is having to communicate, re-educate what you've already people you've already communicated to.
Revisit topics and update, right?
So for example, in the field of dark skies, the lighting was when LEDs came onto the scene, it was seen as a very good thing. That it's more efficient, your light's going where you need it, and it's daylight white, so you need less to get the same effect. But now, 10 years later, we're realizing that, actually it wasn't really that simple, that the color really matters a lot. And if you make lights easier to install, people use more of them. If they're cheaper, you use more light. So you have to kind of go back and look back at what you communicated before and see if it was really effective and how true it still is. So it's a constant battle to update your understanding.
That's really interesting. There's a lot of food for thought here. So I hope that we can unpack some of this as a class and apply that to our own social media goals. So thank you, Stephen, for meeting with us and talking with us for a little bit today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.